And coming to Jack in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm Jack Byer. Welcome to the dentist trench. Or the flame dentist? I'm not flame dentist.
Listen, that's great you're doing that, but I have people waiting. We really need to get this tooth out.
Okay, sorry.
And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Rolling up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal. Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. It's orange!
R45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Décollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Nichole.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Do I have something in my teeth now? Oh, hi everybody. Welcome to the Flame Trench, which is our weekly, not as serious news show where we cover some of the topics going on in space. But today, we actually do have a serious topic that we are going to be covering, and that is the undocking of Crew-10 from the International Space Station. We've got some spectacular live views with our ISS partner up there, SEN. This is a live look right now at some of their 4K cameras, that they have up there on the station, and you can see Dragon ready to undock shortly. I am Sawyer Rosenstein, who will be your host for today, but being the Flame Trench, I am of course not alone. I am being joined by my competent co-host, Jack, how do you do that even when your mouth isn't numb? Competent cohort of co-hosts today. Starting off with EJ, live from his garage. How's it going, EJ?
Hey, I am totally here, not because my motherboard and my main computer caught on fire, but because I wanted to be in this garage that has no AC in it. How are you, Sawyer?
We're all kind of in the same boat here. We're hanging in there, but again, we got people in space, so I guess that makes it a good day.
Yeah, no, it's not bad, not bad.
And then also joining us, since Jack is in the dentist chair, is the fantastic D Wise. D, how is it going?
It has been quite a week. There's a lot to talk about today, but this will be an info-filled flame trench, I think.
Yeah, I think it will too. Of course, many of you have heard the news about Jim Lovell. We will get into his life and legacy a little bit later on in the show. We lost him today, so we will absolutely be discussing that, don't worry. But right now, let us focus on what we have on the screen here right now. So we are about 45 minutes away from the scheduled undocking of Dragon from the ISS. You can see there, Crew-10 has been in space for over 146 days, which is actually one of the shorter time spans that a crew will spend on the ISS. You can see all of our clocks up there, and we also have the data from the International Space Station with altitude and speed in kilometers per hour. Sorry, miles per hour, people. And of course, you can see there the data and the video coming in there from SEN as well. So if you have questions related to the undocking, you can definitely tag us at NASASpaceflight, and we will do our best to answer as many of them as we can as we hopefully get ready to welcome the crew of 4 back home tomorrow when they splash down in California. Dee, do you want to kind of give us a rundown of who we actually have on board Crew-10 coming down?
Yeah, so the Crew-10 astronauts, of course, they launched back in March of this year, are Anne McClain and Nichole Ayers for NASA, as well as JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi and Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peskov. and they will be beginning their journey home here shortly.
Yes, and it's actually exciting for JAXA in particular, with Takuya Onishi, who was a commander of the ISS before handing that back over to the Russians for this one. And also there will be the continued presence of people on board the International Space Station from Japan as well, since we just had Crew-11 launch, and you had Kamiya Yui also on there. So very exciting for JAXA. And again, we got some people that will be coming back. There is Anne McClain. You can see the nickname Animal as the pun guy. I absolutely love that. With 350 days in space, 3 spacewalks, and been an astronaut since 2013. Obviously commanding this mission here in Crew Dragon Endurance. It is quite a mission here. They've spent quite a bunch of time up there, but it's time for them to head back. So let me continue through the crew here. Nichole Vapor is her nickname. Ayers, 147 days in space and a spacewalk, who was a major in the U.S. Air Force, in addition to being one of the more recent selections of NASA crew. And you could see there selected as Group 23 back in 2021. So she was the pilot for this mission. And then, of course, we have our 2 mission specialists. As mentioned, there you go. We have our first mission specialist, Takuya Onishi, who is the mission specialist, 261 days in space, and was the commander of the most recent ISS expedition, who flew 767s for Japan's airline there, All Nippon, and actually has an astronaut named in his honor. He is that astronaut, but also an asteroid named in his honor. So Takuya doing JAXA proud there. And of course, as part of the crew swap deal that NASA has with Roscosmos, where an American will fly on Soyuz, you also have a Russian that will fly aboard Dragon. In this case, that is Kirill Peskov, who spent 147 days in space, joined Roscosmos back in 2018, and was also a pilot flying 757s and 767s. So you've got the 4 crew members there that will be returning aboard Endurance. Now, as much as I love East Coast, Best Coast, this one will indeed be splashing down in the Pacific, and this will be the first NASA crew mission to splash down in the Pacific. EJ, can you kind of go into the reasons why, and why NASA had a problem with the junk in their trunk?
You're gonna leave me on a segue like that?
Of course. You're the one in front of a car with a trunk.
Yeah. Hey, there's no trunk in it, all right? Let's be real. Anyway, okay, all right. Professional. All right, so SpaceX, for the longest time, was using East Coast recovery sites that were off the coast of Florida, both coasts, actually, of Florida. So sometimes they'd land in the Gulf, sometimes they'd land out in the Atlantic Ocean. The reason why they've moved away from that and they're going with West Coast recovery sites only now is because of the trunk, as Sawyer painstakingly, get it? Yeah, see what I did there?
Yeah, that's good.
Pointed out.
That's
yeah,
good.
all right, good. So the reason why is the trunk. So the Dragon missions prior would jettison the trunk, and then they would go for a deorbit burn, okay? That kind of leaves the trunk just up there and makes it so it can kind of come down wherever. And something that SpaceX learned over time is that the trunks, part of them were coming down and getting into the ground. Part of one landed in Australia, part of one, actually a big chunk of it landed in Australia. Parts of it were coming down over land, they're coming down over populated areas. And the trunk is mostly made out of carbon fiber. It's carbon fiber and a couple of other metals you probably don't want landing on you. So SpaceX changed the mission profile, to my knowledge, and please correct me if I'm wrong, guys, they do the deorbit burn and then jettison the trunk. That ensures complete destruction of the trunk and ensures that it comes down nowhere near any populated areas, because on the west coast of the United States, I don't know if anybody lives out there, I'm sure some of you do, there's not a lot of anything off the west coast of the United States for a very long distance. That makes sure that the trunk does burn up, and if any part of it does come down, it comes down in water.
Yep, good old orbital mechanics causing issues in Australia, but
that's right.
That's why the joke about the junk in the trunk, because it's literally space junk falling down that were parts of the trunk jettison. So,
yep.
Yeah. While we wait for the undocking again, you can tag us with any questions at NASASpaceflight. I do want to thank some people here. From the start of the trench, Wilbo Baggins saying, "Oh, a sad day with the passing of Jim Lovell." Yes, indeed it is.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll take a moment to discuss that shortly. Space Pope saying, "Bless this somber trench," with the usual, somehow usual $50 super chat, which is still mind-boggling. Bideford, okay guys, where are you? We're here, we promise, we're here. We are live, we are back on the air, as is the view from space there. Wilbo Baggins gifting 10 Red Team memberships, thank you very much for doing that. Space Pope saying, "Space be with us all." Wow, all of the trench blessings today. And then Space Pope also gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Thank you for that. Methane Man, Sawyer, you nailed the intro. Thanks. And then Anonymous saying the Hawaiian Blue Dragon shirt will go to a good home on the granddad. Bit of an old aerospace nerd. The granddad bod of an old aerospace nerd. See, it looks good on any bod. There you go.
I'll tell you what, Sawyer. I was wearing it around. I got compliments on the NSF wine shirt. Definitely did.
And quite appropriate too with the undocking as well, given the fact that it does have the Dragon capsules on it. You've got the ones with the dolphins from the Crew-10 splashdown on it. So, yeah. And take a look at that on your screen there, right in the middle. That dot is not an issue with the camera, right by the trunk. That looks like the moon. And the crowd started chanting, "Moon, moon, moon." And there it is.
See you next year, Moon. Just saying.
Hopefully. Talking about Artemis 2?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
hopefully we get a little bit of a closer view with some Mark I eyeballs, as Das would put it, right?
Exactly, yes. No later than April of next year. It seems like they're aiming for around the February timeframe, at least from when we were talking to them recently. That was also the discussion. They were at Crew-11 and had a media gathering, and when we talked to them, that was the plan. Speaking of the plan, let's go over what the plan is for this particular undocking and what we can expect to see. EJ, you want to kind of run down what happens with the undocking and how it backs away from the station?
Okay. Well, the Dragon capsule, basically the first thing they're going to do is depressurize. Well, they're going to close the hatches and then they'll depressurize the vestibule. Now, they close the hatches and then they do the depressurization, and then once the depressurization of the vestibule is complete, they will unlatch the capsule and the capsule will move away. The capsule will put itself into an orbit basically where it won't go near the ISS again, even if something does go haywire, God forbid, right? And then from there, Dragon will do a bunch of phasing burns over the next, I think it's 12 hours until they come back down. The phasing burns are basically just to get it away from the ISS and then put it in the right orbit that they need for the final deorbit burn. And once that happens, they will re-enter off the coast as previously discussed and hopefully splash down. Knock on wood there. I don't want to jinx anything. I don't trust this week, everybody. I don't know about you. This week has not been great for space. A lot of scrubs, a lot of astronauts passing away. Just one, but let's get some good vibes, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's why they train for this, they practice for this. Of course, they've checked all the systems on the capsules through its time in space, so that isn't as much of a worry. And that kind of goes with a question from Trendsonic, and I'll throw this one to you, D. Are there any concerns about Dragon degrading after being in space for so long?
So they, of course, have their rated life, but they are, between every mission, they are seeing... They're doing their re-inspections, they're doing their replacements and all that. So it's certainly a consideration and would be a consideration if they would try to go for a multi-year mission or something like that. But they have their rating, they have the understanding of the margins. So they've got room to work with for sure.
And they go through extensive refurbishment down at the Cape, right?
Absolutely. Between the shell, the heat shield itself, and I'm sure there are plenty of systems within Dragon that are being replaced or refurbished. And so it's not that much of a concern, and they're ready for all these reuses, and any signs of wear or the like they would be able to note and prepare for ahead of future missions.
Exactly. Yeah, they have a whole facility nicknamed Dragonland down at the Cape where they work on getting these capsules ready and refurbished and good to go. And actually, at the Crew-11 launch, I was talking afterwards with Ken Bowersox from NASA, and he was talking about one of the nice things about having, private space missions as well, but going through all these different missions and having all of the different Dragon capsules that they have now is they can kind of cycle through them. So if they need to launch a crew mission sooner, there's usually one that's already in the production pipeline or in the refurbishment pipeline that they can kind of swap missions around, especially with something like a Fram 2 or a Polaris Dawn for those private missions, where if they need to just swap a capsule around, they can do that. So any concerns with the capsule at all, they just do a swap. But for these up in space, they're totally fine for the amount of time that they're up there. I believe 8 months-ish is their rated time. And this is one of the shorter missions at only about 4.5 months in space. So not a major concern, but something they obviously keep an eye on. Jeez Louise, that is loud. Breaking news! EJ has a shuttle?
I was going to say, well, I mean, segue is good, but you were talking about swapping out capsules. They did just that during the shuttle missions, and I swapped the shuttle right into scene. Just for you guys. Actually, Chris B told me to. He's like, Mike, can you go? Oh, cut out. I'm like, yeah, I can do that for you. And we brought it in. So we got Discovery here with us. Just hanging out, I totally didn't take it from the Smithsonian.
Wait, what?
Oh, no.
Topical joke.
Did Ted Cruz sign off on that?
I can neither confirm nor deny. I don't recall these events at this time. I gotta go.
It'd only be better if it was Endeavour, aka Best Shuttle.
Challenger's the best shuttle, man. Come on.
It's clearly Atlantis. Come on, stop it with this.
Wow, a trench divided. Holy smokes. I mean, I think this is the first flame trench that we've had in a while where everybody that's on has a different favorite shuttle. Just like it's proof that we know which coast is best based off of the chat poll saying East Coast, Best Coast.
I thought
won by
Yorkshire
a good
Coast
margin.
was pretty high up there, and I think the poll was a little bit rigged by not including the Wyoming coast.
I mean, true. But either way, West Coast came in last, above Gulf Coast and the Yorkshire Coast. So, just saying.
People over my Twitch chat saying I thought the shuttle was bigger. It's in the background, man. Do you understand scale? Jeez. Behind me. It's in the background. Anyway.
Yes, Chris, I know how to say that. There's some that I mess up. That's not one of them. I know if I want to keep my job, I have to say it correctly.
Hey, Sawyer, you know what my favorite rest of the world football team is?
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
Leeds.
Oh.
I love Leeds. Leeds is the best.
Oh, well, if your feed gets cut, we'll know what happened.
It's Liverpool. We all know it's Liverpool. Let's not kid ourselves. Come on.
And with that was the last we ever heard of EJ. It was nice knowing you. Oh, boy. Everyone wave goodbye to EJ. And he's gone. Anyway, let's get back to some more of your questions here about the undocking. Here's one from John, and I think this is a good EJ question. What would happen if they came down almost immediately after undocking? And why don't they just come down immediately after undocking? Why do they take this 12-hour route?
Am I deleted?
Yes, you are. You are now just a ghost voice.
Oh, all right. I'm a disembodied voice. It's probably for the better anyway.
Or just zoom in on the shuttle only. We can just see Discovery, then we're fine.
Okay, so why don't they just pop it down right away? Okay, so first of all, the name of the game with spaceflight, especially, I know it seems like we're doing all this crazy stuff, and the day where you and I could just get on a spacecraft and just, fly up into space, that moment is approaching. But right now, it's still slow and deliberate. you don't want to make any mistakes here. You really don't. It really needs to be deliberately. It needs to be done deliberately. Each step needs to be checked and double checked, just to be absolutely sure. So there's no real reason to go fast. However, there's this whole where you need to land needs to be in the right, basically in the right path. They need to basically change the orbit around and do some phasing burns to make sure that the track goes over their landing site, the recovery areas. You want the capsule to ideally come down where you expect it's going to come down. And that's, once again, that's one of those things about being deliberate with your space program. That's why sometimes Dragon takes, 24 hours. Sometimes it takes like 16, like when Crew-11 launched. It was on a very, very quick rendezvous. That mostly has to do with orbital mechanics, but also slow and steady wins the race with spaceflight, Sawyer.
Yeah, that is a good point. Although Russia will do a 3-hour deorbit because Russia.
Well, the Soyuz is a lot more matured. Let's be nice. It's a lot more matured spacecraft. It's been around a lot longer. Yeah, mature. Right? Na zdrowie. Mature. Very good. So because it's a little bit more of a mature design, it's a little bit more well understood, you can kind of just punch your ticket and fly right to the ISS with that thing. Dragon, a little bit newer, a little bit, you want to go slow with a new spacecraft. You don't want to push it. Soyuz, Russians are just like, yes, go, send, bye-bye.
It's wild
they
that
do.
the spacecraft that surpassed the amount of time in space compared to the space shuttle. And let's go with Crew Dragon Endeavour. It passed Space Shuttle Endeavour's total time in space in 2022, and it is now currently in space in 2025. But it's still considered a new vehicle.
Yep, I hate that. I don't like that at all.
I
don't like that.
agree.
I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all.
It hurts. Yeah.
Yep. You know good and well something in the future is going to surpass Discovery's 39 reuses, and as a shuttle fan, that is going to completely ruin my weekend.
Now, are we talking crew rated that will pass Discovery, or just spaceflight in general, i.e. one of the boosters?
I think one of the boosters will do it sooner rather than later, but Sawyer, I think that moment of a crew-rated vehicle doing that, maybe not Dragon, but a crew-rated vehicle doing that, that moment is rapidly approaching, and I don't know how to feel about it. Good, I guess? Maybe?
I mean, on one hand, it hurts because shuttle never could, but at the same time, it's nice to find a vehicle that would do what shuttle should have done, albeit 50 years after its initial design.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm happy something is doing it. I wish it could have been my baby right here, but
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like we
love you.
really need to just celebrate it when it comes to that point. When it happens with a booster, when it happens with a Starship, that'll be an exciting day, a sign of how much spaceflight has advanced and how much reusability has continued to evolve. Shuttle, what started off as the reusable idea, and in many ways, it's carrying forward some of that legacy almost. So, even though shuttle itself will have in some ways been surpassed, it's great. It's a great thing to carry on the legacy.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, D, for sure. I wish it was the shuttle. I wish it could have been this, but hey, something is doing it. I'm happy with that. I think, sorry, I don't know about you, but I think I can know of my love for the space shuttle, Starship, and a Super Heavy launch. The Super Heavy gets caught, and then the Starship comes back down and gets caught with people on board, and both vehicles are sitting right next to each other, after completely being reused. I think I can...
On the big loop for undock time.
Hold up.
SpaceX, go ahead. All right, and there are some really awesome new high-definition cameras on the ISS, and we've got the most amazing view of a Dragon during undock that we've ever seen before. We are going to delay the undock sequence by 10 minutes, so we exit the eclipse period and we can capture this video.
Dragon Cappies will make sure we smile.
With that, the new undock time is 22:10 Zulu.
Okay, 22:10, thanks.
Oh, that is spectacular news. We'll get even better views.
Exactly as we asked for, right?
Oh, totally. And I mean, it helps that we have the fantastic views from SEN, our ISS camera partner. So it's going to be beautiful. And it's funny because he actually had someone, where was it? Chris Barnett was asking earlier, why is it always nighttime when Dragon undocks? Is there any reason behind this, or is this just how the schedule goes? It's normally just most convenient time, but in this case they're literally pushing it back a bit by about 10 minutes so that we get good views, because otherwise this is what we'd be looking at. It's yeah, a little dark.
Sometimes those nighttime views are pretty cool for seeing the firing and everything in greater contrast, but come on, in light, like that's awesome that they're willing to do a 10-minute delay just to get some nice views.
Exactly. Yeah, these are the NASA views currently, because there isn't much, and then SEN's view is also, you know, dark, given the whole dark side of the planet right now, so we'll get good views at least. So that is fantastic news in our case. But
I mean,
also,
so
yes, go ahead,
quick,
back to what you were talking about.
Yeah, no problem. One thing I just wanted to point out is, like, you know, it's like, oh, we always get Dragon undocking in the dark. That has to do with that whole orbital mechanics thing. That's the reason why the transfer window, like all the phasing takes 12 hours, sometimes takes 24. Dragon's got to come down in the right place. It's not easy to turn when you're going 17,500 miles an hour. So, you know, the orbital mechanics kind of say that, you know, it has to, you know, you undock, ideally you want to do that in the dark, right? And it's just kind of by chance. Like, it's just like getting night launches and day launches. Sometimes crews launch during the day, sometimes they launch at night. It really depends. But yeah, there must be some leeway in the window here to delay it by 10 minutes and be like, oh yeah, it'll still be fine.
Exactly. And it shouldn't affect their splashdown time, at least, though. Speaking of splashdown, I think let's talk a little bit about the splashdown itself. I know Kevin's got some tweets and stuff already prepared. So here it is. This is the area that we are expecting them to splash down. So you may remember there was Megan and Shannon as the recovery ships. Megan temporarily stayed on the East Coast for a bit and is now gone, whereas Shannon went all the way around from the East Coast to the West Coast, and that is where it is currently located. So that is where we can expect the area roughly to be where Crew Dragon will splash down. So that is off the coast of Huntington Beach, California. So there's Long Beach as well, the port of Long Beach, quite busy over there. Something to keep an eye out for. Again, it's a little harder when you get these daylight splashdowns to see it on the West Coast, but it's one of those, hey, if you're on the West Coast, never hurts to go outside and take a look when splashdown comes around. Which, have either of you, Dee, you managed to see a re-entry when it was down near the Keys, right?
Yeah, so I've seen a couple re-entries. I believe Crew-5 was one I saw passing over the Orlando area. But then down at the Keys, I went with Max for the return of Polaris Dawn. And so we did a road trip all the way down there and got to the closest point we really could. And it was, seeing the nighttime re-entries is really incredible because you have the trail of plasma across the sky. And you also aren't necessarily certain when it'll come into view. Max and I were out there and listening, and it was close to the time where there was a reacquisition of signal. And we were like, oh, we aren't going to see this, are we? And then just a couple seconds later, we saw, from our perspective, the trail and Dragon capsule rise above the horizon, pass by the moon, and continue across the sky. So they're so cool to see. We also saw, of course, Axiom's return recently out in California. We got lots of great views from a ton of different viewers out there. So anyone who happens to be in the area, it's always worth giving it a shot. Lots of those people were just in their backyards in all across California, and so long as the clouds cooperated, they were able to get some wonderful views and see the re-entry. It's not like you'll necessarily hear it unless you're in the right area. That's a little bit more tricky to sort of hear anything from re-entry. But as far as seeing it, you can be in a very wide area, anywhere along the path.
Yeah, hearing the sonic booms was a lot more pronounced during the shuttle era, that's for sure, when it literally did S-turns over populated areas of Florida. This one tends to go over the water more, and this is a view from that re-entry. Dee, I believe this is your video as well.
I believe so.
Absolutely beautiful.
It's Friday, August 8th, and we're joining you today from SpaceX in Hawthorne, California. We're following along with the Dragon Endurance spacecraft as we await Crew-10's departure from the International Space Station. Right now, we're expecting that process to begin shortly after 3 p.m. Pacific and 6 p.m. Eastern.
But yeah, it is not easy to track that. Of course, we'll be listening in to all of the feeds that come in so we can hear space to ground and mission control feeds and updates from NASA and SpaceX Public Affairs. So we will be occasionally interrupted by voices in Quindar tones. So don't be surprised if you hear random other voices besides the voice of God, Kevin Michael Reed, who I don't know if I mentioned is producing today. Kevin is producing today. But yeah.
I, for one, welcome our Kindar overlords.
Hello. There!
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
I have SpaceX and NASA in my ear right now, so I can't really talk and concentrate, so keep going.
Kevin, what's 2 plus 2?
6.
Math checks out. He's good.
No, 2 plus 2 goes in the square hole.
So a little bit of behind the scenes on this exact shot, actually.
Yes.
You'll notice there's a little bit of what looks like wobbling on the shape of the capsule there. That's because I did do stabilization in post, and these shots are incredibly dim once they get towards the end and the plasma starts to dissipate. So I was running the camera at a very high shutter, or a very slow shutter speed. So any sort of minor shake would cause that trail, and then while I was putting this together, I stabilized it based on the position of the capsule. So it gets a little bit bumpy because I'm tracking that one at 800 millimeters on a tripod, and we sort of just watched it appear above the horizon, found it, and started tracking. But that's a little bit of a behind-the-scenes explanation on why it looks a little bit funny.
Yeah, and this was from Polaris Dawn, right?
Yes.
That picture's amazing, Dee. That's really, really nice.
Thank you.
It may be a little trickier to see the one on the West Coast because the splashdown time is currently scheduled for 8:33 a.m. Pacific time. That's 15:33 UTC. At that point, the sun will be up, so maybe you can catch a glimmer if the sun's at the right angle, but it may be too high at that point to get a really clear view of that trail. When it's a dark night and there are no clouds in the sky, it is so easy to spot. I was fortunate to see one of them. I think it was Crew-6. There was a bunch of clouds. Managed to see it through a tiny little bit of a gap, though. It's so much easier to see at night. And now, again, we will continue to keep track as we approach about 20 minutes to the best vent time. Oh, no, wait, this isn't launch. So we had 20 minutes and 20 seconds until the undocking time here for Crew-10 and their eventual return to Earth. I do want to take a moment and thank some people here. Jurwa gifting 20 Red Team memberships. Holy smokes, thank you, Jurwa. Yes, I recognize the name from a certain someone from Twitch's chat as well. Don't know who that could be.
Little old me? I don't know. Maybe.
Captain Kurtz, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Crafty Geek with a tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com. We'll see how that shows up on the overlay. Boom, it works. Got my Falcon scrub shirt delivered from the store today. Thanks, y'all, in the store team. Sorry that you had to get it because you stayed through a scrub stream, but thank you for staying through the scrub stream, and hopefully you enjoy the merch. Shazbert in Scotty's voice. Oh, God, it's the Enterprise. We need Jay to do that. Jay would probably be better at that.
If you're not Sawyer, I can do a pretty dang good Scott accent. What do you want me to say?
It's on the screen there.
Oh. It's the Enterprise. Yeah,
there we
go. Good.
Something like that.
All right, something like that, yeah.
Telstar86 gifting a Red Team membership. Anthony coming in with the Hawaiian shirt with Wyoming Coast, Best Coast. Again, so when it splashes down, you can rep Dragon. You can see all of the little Easter eggs too from past splashdowns with the dolphins and everything. But with Splashdown coming up tomorrow, it's perfect time to get a Splashdown related shirt for Dragon. It's also available in phone cases too. Telstar86, once Starship is crew rated, a return trip to Mars will soon help it overtake shuttle time in space. I mean, yeah, I guess, right? Is that kind of cheating though if it's a singular space flight that breaks all of shuttle's record at once?
I mean, there's just sitting there being docked to the ISS, and then there's actually going and doing things like wrestling satellites and satellite servicing missions and deploying payloads and, building space stations. I would say it's a little bit different, okay?
All right, so put totally the asterisk, the asterisk caveat.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Eleanor.
Sawyer.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Kevin Michael Reed.
I just wanted to chime in. Really cool. So Jay made these overlays over the last couple of weeks, expecting that we had the send video and the undocking. Oh no! I was just explaining that when we lose a video signal, our overlay actually now tells us that there's no signal from the ISS. I
did see it.
Oh. Yeah, it was there for a little bit, and then it went away because we got signal back. Cool, but yeah, if you watch our stats are actually live stats from the ISS.
There you go. Yes, and you notice, cool. Just for clarification, the terms on there: AOS is acquisition of signal, LOS is loss of signal. So if you see AOS, that means we have video, and you see it with the red with the LOS, that's lost the signal basically.
And by the way, LOS is not a bad thing. That's usually an expected thing. And you guys can explain, like the Earth and satellites and stuff like that. I can't explain that stuff.
Which of you wants to explain that?
Do you want this one?
I'm so sorry. Could you repeat that one?
I can take care of it if you want.
Of why we have the random LOS, the loss of signals, as we watch all of this. Hi, Rob.
So I'm sure you can go more in depth, but it has to do with the way that the ISS communicates. And so even with the Dragon, we see that for some missions they added the Starlink lasers into the trunk to get higher speed data communication. The ISS doesn't have Starlink. It's relying on the TDRS system, and additionally it needs the ground stations. And so whether it's passing over the ocean or anything like that, if it doesn't have communication with a ground station through those systems, it'll be a loss of signal.
Exactly, we don't have full communications really yet, which is kind of mind-boggling.
Well, I mean, so Dee was talking about the TDRS, so that's the Tracking Data and Relay System. That's NASA, basically NASA's on-orbit communication system. That's what they use for anything that's in, medium to low Earth orbit. Beyond that, they're using the DSN. They're using the Deep Space Network, which are ground-based, right? But, I mean, we don't have anything, Sawyer, because TDRS was launched by the shuttle. So it's been up there a little while. I mean, some of it was launched by the shuttle. Some of it was launched by Delta, too, if I'm remembering correctly.
I think later ones, most of them were from the early shuttle days, though. And then they had the more advanced TDRS satellites, which was It was Delta class. I'm not sure if it was Delta 2 or Delta 4, but it was definitely a Delta family of vehicles. So, yeah, it's also kind of getting up there in age. It's different, by the way, we should also specify from the Deep Space Network, because that deals with, well, deep space, and then TDRS is not deep space, it's shallow space, I guess. I don't know, we need a better name.
Close. Yeah, I mean, the reason why TDRS can't communicate any further is, well...
SpaceX copies. Visors down.
And speaking of loss of signal and acquisition of signal...
We heard a little bit of chatter there between mission control here in SpaceX communicating with our crew on board. And we've got...
So, now that we have AOS and LOS, now that everyone knows the terms, perfect time to test it out. That was totally...
Yeah, we were testing you guys. Obviously.
Yeah, totally that. Not YouTube being YouTube.
No, yeah, I mean, well, they clearly learned. A bunch of people in chat said LOS and AOS when we, LOS when we lost and AOS when we came back. Just saying.
And speaking of TDRS, this is the scan network that we can see which TDRS satellites are communicating from where, the Atlantic versus the Indian versus Pacific sites for them. So you can see right now, what is that, TDRS 6 and 7 currently getting data. Didn't they used to have letters, or was that just they had the letter for launch and then they switched to a number once they were in orbit, kind of like the GOES satellites?
That's exactly what they did, Sawyer.
Yes, for those who don't know, the GOES satellites launched as GOES R, S, T, and U. GOES R is now, I believe, GOES 16. So once they got into their final spots, they were given a number. But yeah, for what you just missed, right as everything decided to cut out, they are go for the undock sequence that starts at 10 minutes past the hour. That is about a 5-minute sequence where they basically slowly, as we pointed out, depressurize things, undo all of the clamps. There's the hard capture clamps and the soft capture clamps that they all release. And then there's that gentle push that bumps it away from the ISS. Right, EJ? Is that an actual pusher, or is that just force from the undocking?
So, sorry, the actual physical docking mechanism is 12 hooks. They have like drive hooks that basically hook the two docking flanges together. They'll undo 6, they'll undo 6 more, and the type of docking port that Dragon uses is based off of the International Docking System Standard, or NDS. You could call it NDS, you could call it IDSS. NDS is NASA docking system. Basically, how it ends up pushing away from the space station is that once those drive hooks disengaged, the NDS kind of it's kind of spring loaded. You'll see it when it undocks. It'll undo the springs, and it'll basically the docking port kind of has 2 parts to it. There's the hard surface, and then there's a soft capture. The soft capture will unload, and it'll push it right back.
It's already to J in VMix.
Do we have AOS?
If Twitch can get us. Twitch is working, right? Yeah. We still got it on Twitch. What's up, dudes?
Hey! Anyway, sorry to interrupt you. You were saying, EJ, before we were so rudely interrupted by YouTube.
See, you know what, Sawyer? All I'm thinking is that it was a really good time to explain AOS and LOS to chat, right? That was a really good time.
Yeah, it worked out perfectly. But you were talking about with the, we were just talking IDA and Starliner similar.
Yeah, so Dragon and Starliner use the IDS, okay? The IDS docks to the IDA, okay? The IDA is the International Docking Adapter. The International Docking Adapter has an IDSS port on the front and an APAS 95 port on the back. The International Docking Adapter adapts the APAS port for the shuttle on the ISS. The APAS 95 port that the IDA attaches to is a pressurized mating adapter. That's basically left over from the shuttle program. That's the shuttle's docking port. It's kind of that elephant trunk looking adapter that you see on the SenCam, right? The pressurized mating adapter takes APAS 95 and converts it to CBM, which is Common Berthing Mechanism, which is how all the modules on the United States operational segment of the space station, that's how they all kind of, link up together. So To recap, we have Dragon with its IDSS. IDSS goes to the IDA. IDA goes to the APAS. APAS goes to the PMA. PMA goes to the CBM. CBM goes to Node 2. Any questions? Cool. Great. Everybody got that?
Let me see. Do I still exterminate? Do I sound like a Dalek right now, or am I better?
You sound a bit better to me.
Okay, good. Yeah, now that I've done my terrible Dalek impression, it's all good.
Clear as mud, they said.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gort.
EJ, there wasn't a chance anyone followed that with how fast you said it all.
No, it's fine. It worked. It worked.
But it's a slow undock. It's not a fast undock.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I'll explain it slower next
time. But D, once the APAS, or basically once the docking separates away, Dragon takes it from there, right?
Yeah, so basically they have the undocking, which SpaceX's timeline hasn't updated in terms in time with the shifting, but basically as soon as they separate, there are a series of 4 departure burns spaced. The first one is almost immediately after, and then about 5 minutes later they have another, and then it's about 40 minutes till the next departure burn, and then it's almost an hour until the next one. So we're getting a look into Dragon right now. There are a series of basically zones around the ISS where if you're within that zone, you have to be not on a trajectory with the ISS for a certain period of time. And so I'm sure you can go a bit more into it, but these are timed such that they're not just powering away from the ISS to re-enter right away. They are taking their time getting away slowly and methodically, meeting with all of NASA's rules for approach and departure and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a bunch of ellipsoids and spheres. They really love the word ellipsoid. Right? There's the keep out spheres. There's the what are the terms, EJ?
I got you. All right. So ISS has 2 kind of area of denial, I guess. Right? I think of it like airspace around an airport. You're not flying over a busy airport, right? The ISS is pretty busy nowadays. There's ships constantly leaving and going, right? So the first immediate one that is right around the ISS is called the keep out sphere. Keep out sphere is basically the perimeter of our airport in this analogy, so to speak. You don't fly over it, you don't fly near it, you don't even think about it, you don't even look at it, right? I mean, unless they say you can look at it, right? The keep out sphere basically has 2 kind of approach corridors for a capsule like Dragon or Starliner. Now, keep in mind, it's different for capsules that dock to the ISS versus vehicles that berth to the ISS, like Cygnus, or maybe in the future we see a Dream Chaser. I would hope so. I think it's cool because mini shuttle, I mean, who doesn't like that, right? So berthing is a little bit of a different operation, but for crafts that dock to the ISS, you have 2 docking corridors. So the first one is the V-bar approach and the R-bar approach, all right? First one's V-bar, second one's R-bar. What that is basically a nice way of saying come approach from the front or approach from the top, all right? The reason why is because here we go with the acronyms again, all right? There are 2 IDAs and 2 pressurized mating adapters on the ISS. Well, actually, technically there's 3 PMAs, ISS people, you know what I mean. But 2 of them are lined for the V and the R-bar approach. So you have PMA 2 and 3 basically pointing forward and pointing up. All right, IDA 2 and 3 are attached to those respectively. IDA 1 is at the bottom of the ocean. We don't want to talk about that. It was 10 years ago. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it being at the bottom of the ocean. It's fine. Okay. Yeah. So inside of the keep out sphere, you have 2 approach ellipsoids. Basically, those are your proverbial runways. Think of them like runways, coming from the front, coming from the side, and they're lined up with the docking ports. So when the capsule it's making a straight approach at each docking port. Outside of that, little ways outside of that is the approach ellipsoid. Approach ellipsoid is basically like the area that you get into quote unquote your pattern before you approach your runway. that's the right way to say it. Once again, I'm using planes as an analogy. Obviously, spacecraft don't fly exactly like airplanes unless it's the shuttle, because the shuttle's amazing, right? Oh, it's off camera. Okay, never mind. Don't worry about it. So, yeah, that's basically how it works. You have your keep out sphere first, and then your R-bar and V-bar approach, and then outside of that, you have your approach ellipsoid. And once again, so when Dragon does pull back, we should be about 4 minutes out from the start of undocking procedures. This Dragon is on the V-bar approach. I believe Endeavor's on the V-bar. So it's going to back off basically straight out in front of the space station. It'll exit the keep out sphere. And then once it gets out into the approach ellipsoid, that's when it'll start doing the phasing burns to get out of the approach ellipsoid and leave permanently. Now, the crew, when they do an undock, you will see Dragon's thrusters kind of firing, doing a little bit of what's called station keeping. Station keeping is a nice way of saying flying in formation with the ISS. It'll do some station keeping burns, and the reason why it's going to do that is because NASA and SpaceX purposely put the capsules into a type of orbit where it won't get near the ISS for at least 24 hours. That is, once again, one of those things about being a little bit preemptive about things. You know, if you put it into an orbit that's not gonna, if it free drifts, it's not gonna get near the ISS again. If something, you know, Jeb forbid, if something does happen, you have some time to troubleshoot.
It's all about protection, keeping the crew safe, keeping everyone on board safe. Really quickly, before we get into the heat of the undocking here, well, no, the heat's the re-entry part.
Yeah, you got that confused.
Devin gifting 10 Red Team memberships, thank you very much for that. And Eleanor, rest in peace, Jim Lovell. I'm sure NSF will honor him in the way he deserves. Yes, again, we will make sure to honor his memory in a little bit as we get on with the show. But for right now, the focus is on the 4 astronauts currently aboard their Crew Dragon, getting ready to finally return home. As a reminder, D, which Dragon is this and who will be returning home?
Sorry, one second there.
Oh, good.
So NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nichole Ayers, as well as JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi and Roscosmos astronaut Kirill Peskov, Roscosmos cosmonaut Kirill Peskov, will be returning from the International Space Station.
Exactly, yes. This is C210, by the way, which I'm surprised they don't also give names to the cargo dragons. They just go with the capsule 210 or whatever. But C210 for Crew Dragon is also Endurance. So right now, the 2 E's are up at the space station, Endeavor and Endurance. And Endurance, ironically, doing one of the shortest stays at the ISS for a NASA mission at only about 4.5 months, will be coming home in just a little bit. So again, we're about 10 seconds away from the start of the undocking sequence, which will then take about 5 minutes, eventually ending with Crew Dragon Endurance slowly backing away from the International Space Station. So 5 minutes to go from the actual undocking itself. Again, this right now a view from inside Crew Dragon Endurance.
Actually, Sawyer, I don't know if you guys can make that out on the cameras, but the center screen on that Dragon at the very top,
and
it's going to tell you
of the command now has been issued. The first step on the road to separation will be the retraction of the umbilical that you just heard a moment ago.
Here we go.
Copy.
And McClain, the commander of Endurance, acknowledging the issuance of the undocking command, the umbilical being retracted. Once again, this means that Endurance will be on its own in terms of internal power and telemetry, no longer interconnected to the International Space Station.
Just so you know, that voice is Rob Navius of NASA Public Affairs, and the person who is in mission control speaking to the crew is Tess Caswell, who is the Capcom
And the first set of hooks now traveling. 2 gangs of hooks, 6 hooks apiece, will open in...
As EJ was talking about earlier, so now those hooks will be undocking. But yes, those are the voices that you'll be hearing, just so you're aware. So look at that as the sun rises too. This should be some gorgeous views of the undocking as well. And EJ, we got the plane lights on, right? You got the green and the red on capsules, just like you see on planes and on boats, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dragon has strobes. I think SpaceX was trying to do some airline-like operations there, but yeah, it does. It definitely has strobes. So if there's any pilots out there, it does. I'm not sure what they're going to do with that with a capsule. I don't think other spacecraft need to see it flying around, but you know, that's cool. Actually, Sawyer, I wanted to talk because I'm in my shop, so like my main computer's busted, so I apologize for the kind of mess behind me of a car. There's some car, but maybe mostly rust behind me. But you know, in case anybody's wondering why they undo 6 and they undo 6, well, this is the reason right here. This is a torque wrench. You want to untorque the hooks in sequence. That's why they do 6 and they do 6 more. Anybody that knows, you know, if you know anything about mechanical stuff, like fastening stuff together with nuts and bolts, like working on a car, you torque in sequence. And then in the aerospace industry, you untorque in sequence all the time to make sure that nothing breaks. That's why they do 6 and 6. If anybody's wondering, do not want to bend the flange on the docking port. That could be very bad. We don't want to do that. That's why they undo it in sequence, is because they're detorquing the hooks, the drive hooks. In case anybody's wondering, it's really cool. Also torque wrench.
Also torque wrench, yes.
Yep. Make that a command. Also torque wrench.
Now Long March 5. Nope. But
now
anyway.
Long March 5. Yep.
Now, Crew Dragon Endurance, as we're under 2 minutes away from the actual physical undocking itself, as the undocking sequence again underway. You can see the views there from our ISS camera partners doing their firing. So again, you've got the thrusters up in the nose. You also have the ones off on the side, right? You've got all different axes of thrusters, EJ.
Yeah, you have six degrees of freedom, right? 6 DOF is what it's called in the space program. 6 degrees of freedom. You go up, down, forward, back, left, right, and then you have your rotations, right? You can yaw, pitch, and roll. Mm-hmm. Dragon can do all of those things. But Dragons, see, here's the thing, Sawyer. Dragons, if you look at Dragon 2, you look up at the front, right by the docking port, you'll see 2 darker holes right up at the front. Those are its, well, backup thrusters. It's also the deorbiting thrusters for what it's worth. But sorry, they're not going to fire those. You don't want to fire those into the docking port. If you notice, they're kind of right next to that IDA, right? The IDA with the IDSS connected to the APAS, connected to the PMA, right? You don't want to mess all that adapters up. Dude, they got more adapters than my printer up there.
And those are also pretty strong thrusters. They're going to use the lightest touches, which we should see here in just a couple of seconds now as we get ready for the undock.
Actually, somebody asked over in Twitch
there we
chat,
go.
Are they deorbiting? Oh,
hold on one moment, EJ. We have undock. At this point now, Crew-10 is on its own. Crew Dragon Endurance separating away from the ISS. Next stop, the Pacific Ocean, 12 hours from now, after a long stay aboard the International Space Station.
And we have undocking. Physical separation confirmed.
Cool.
At 5:15 p.m. Central Time, 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time, as the station and Dragon flew 260 miles over Jakarta, Indonesia.
Over Indonesia for the undock. And again, this the SEN 4K cameras on board the ISS.
What a shot.
With this stunning, stunning view.
If this were a launch, this would be the prime jellyfish time where you can see the ground is in shadow, but you can just see the edge of the Terminator there, and Dragon is fully illuminated by the sun. That is absolutely gorgeous.
Performance nominal.
Visiting vehicle officer here reports good trajectory as Dragon Endurance leaves the International Space Station, from which it docked 146 days ago.
Beautiful.
Oh, look, the thrusters.
Yep, there you go. See, like I said, they're gonna make some small adjustments here, but you ideally do not want to outgas in the direction of the space station. But how are you gonna do that when you need to back off, right? So they got to do little minuscule adjustments. Like I said, you'll see the things firing. So when it leaves that V-bar approach, it's basically going down the runway right now, so to speak. That you'll see some slight adjustments here and there as it moves out of the keep-out sphere. Once we get out of the keep-out sphere into the approach ellipsoid, you're going to see a lot more thruster firings. But ideally, you want Dragon to be in a trajectory where it's not coming back to the ISS for 24 hours, just in case something goes weird.
Exactly. And again, just stunning views right there. So yeah, you'll see the little puffs of gas, which what do they actually use for that, by the way?
So Dragon is using pressure-fed. Okay, all right. Some big words are going to come at you guys.
Oh,
Okay?
jeez.
These are pressure-fed bipropellant hypergolic thruster. Okay, no, that's not Star Trek. If you heard dilithium, then it might be. Okay, but what these thrusters do is they're back pressurized by helium, and they use monomethylhydrazine and nitrogen tetroxide, which, if those sound like really toxic chemicals, well, it's because they are. Yeah, don't get near them. But in space, when these two things touch each other, they explode. So a pressure-fed hypergolic system, that's what hypergols are. If they touch each other, they blow up. Pressure-fed hypergols are the simplest type of thruster that you can use. That's what Dragon uses to keep it nice and simple.
Yeah.
And that's what you see firing.
Basically nasty chemicals that when they touch, they go boom, and that boom creates thrust.
It's like Die Hard 3, man. It's a binary liquid. All right, sorry. I'll be quiet. Sorry, I get hyped up about this. I think this is super cool. Chad, come on, right? You wouldn't be watching it if it wasn't, right? It's pretty dang cool. Look at that shot. The shot's getting me fired up.
Oh my god, that is
just like
such
the thrusters.
A view. The thrusters!
The thrusters, Sawyer, what do they mean?
Yes. Oh
Sorry.
my gosh.
I'm going to be quiet for a little while. I'm going to go drink some water.
It's fine. This is what we came to see. And again, a reminder, there's 4 people inside of that capsule that is backing away. During the whole procedure, though, they do have their visors down and locked, and they are fully suited up. It's one of those, again, where just in case something goes wrong and there's a pressure issue when they're undocking, they have their suits, which are pressurized, so that they basically have they're in their own spacecraft inside their actual spacecraft. That's what those suits are. So next up will be Departure Burn 1. So this is going to be one of the larger burns where you'll actually see it back away from the ISS. And EJ, this will get them to the next sphere, right?
Yep, they are out of the keep out sphere. They're kind of in the approach ellipsoid right now.
Exactly, and it's worth noting that because SpaceX and because NASA loves their numbering, the official burn where they start separating away is called burn 0. And so this is departure burn 1, even though it's the second burn technically that they're doing. So yeah, just like no one with NASA and SpaceX can actually get their mission numbers right for Starlink and Shuttle, ends up basically being the same deal here with departure burn numbers. Also, for the NET clock, just ignore the 1. The 1 is not there. You do not see the 1. The 1 is invisible.
There are 4 lights, Chad. Okay.
The 1 goes in the square hole.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
So just in case anybody was wondering, and I apologize, I had to look it up. The hype got to me, Sawyer. But the keep out sphere is a 200-meter radius sphere around the ISS, and then the approach ellipsoid is a 4-kilometer by 2-kilometer by 2-kilometer approach ellipsoid. It's kind of like an oblong ellipse around the ISS. Yeah, they are well outside of that keep out sphere right now in the approach ellipsoid. Once again, the approach ellipsoid is basically the area around the ISS where you're lining up for your approach. Keep out sphere is basically flying over an airport. There is quote unquote a permanent flight. Well, I was about to say a TFR, but it's not a TFR. It's a permanent flight restriction. Closed airspace except for the runways, just like an airport. Same idea, which is, I think that's super neat.
And that is Departure Burn 1 officially underway. So they are now backing away from the station.
Depart Burn 1 complete. You are go to DOF suits per procedure 4.012. Reminder, ground will be deactivating the big loop following exit from the approach ellipsoid.
There it is.
So, when they talk about suit doffing...
Dragon now maneuvering.
Crew-10 copies go to DOF suits. To the ISS crew, Expedition 73 Bravo. It is an absolute privilege to cross paths with you. Good luck in the rest of the mission. Godspeed.
Very nice words. So yes, doff suit means they can actually take off their
and
suits.
Vapor, Talk, and Kirill, thank you for your wishes. We wish you fair winds and following seas. It's been an honor for all of us around the world to support you as you lived and worked on the International Space Station. We cannot wait to welcome you home to the blue skies of Earth.
I think we're in the clear, Sawyer.
You know, as soon as I start talking, there'll be another Quindar tone.
Yep, that's going to happen. But that's why we have the Quindar tones.
It was a huge honor to work with you all. We're going to miss you, and we can't wait to see you back on Earth.
Boys, Johnny and the rest of the crew have a great mission.
Again, Endurance Commander Ann McClain wishing all the best.
Yeah, that Johnny Kim was the one commenting from on board the space station.
And Station Houston on the Big Loop. Dragon has exited the keep-out sphere.
And as you heard, Endurance is now outside of the keep-out sphere. The next milestone will be coming up about 11 minutes from now, and that will be the approach ellipsoid exit to...
And there we go. And the reason they got all sappy and things like that as well is because, as you heard, they are going to, once they exit that sphere, disconnect from the big loop. So basically, once any visiting vehicle with crew gets within those spheres and ellipsoids, they consolidate communications so everyone is on the same comms net and can hear each other. So there's still the Dragon's ability to talk to the Mission Control in Hawthorne. The people on the ISS can still talk to Mission Control in Houston separately, but it makes it so much easier to coordinate everything with Hawthorne, with the capsule, with the ISS, with Mission Control Houston, with all of the other Mission Control centers. The one in Russia, you've got the ones for JAXA. They are all on one big loop. That's why it's called the big loop. So they're all communicating on the same one. But now that they are no longer in the ISS's area, they don't need to coordinate with them anymore. So they disconnect the big loop and they go back to their individual loops now. The smaller loops, I guess. And how many times can Sawyer say loop?
So, Sawyer, I did misspeak a second ago. I said they were outside of the keep-out sphere. I was wrong. I judged the distance incorrectly. I'll be honest with you, I had to look it up. I thought the keep-out sphere was 100. It's actually 200. That is totally on me, fellas. But now it's out of the keep-out sphere and into the approach ellipsoid. So it should start, there's the departure burns, right? The departure burn was nominal. So Dragon's slowly going to move out of the approach ellipsoid at this point.
Exactly. And again, that... you was able to see a little bit of that view from Scan doing all of the ground connections. And in fact, right now it's TDRA 7 providing those views from the International Space Station located over the Indian Ocean, which makes sense given that they undocked over Jakarta in Indonesia, which is right along the Indian Ocean there. So makes sense. And now the capsule will take the 12-hour journey back to Earth, splashing down off the Pacific, and that is the live location right now of the International Space Station. So there are still more burns to complete. Dragon has 2 more burns to finish. This thanks to Alex in the back channel reminding me of all this. So departure burn 1 basically makes sure that the spacecraft will not come anywhere near the ISS for the next 24 hours. If anything were to happen and it lost all thrusters, all control, it wouldn't go near the station for 24 hours.
I have you loud and clear on the cabin mic on the big loop.
Okay, we can hear you loud and clear.
And those comms there were with the core or the crew?
SpaceX Dragon, so com check on Dragon to ground.
I've got you loud and clear on Dragon to ground. How me?
Okay, same. Thanks.
again, those comms there were between JAXA astronaut Takuya Onishi and the crew operations resource engineer in.
As we were just talking about with them disconnecting from the big loop, making sure that they can hear each other on the individual ones. So for the ISS, it's station to ground, and for Dragon, it's shocking, I know, Dragon to ground. They get so creative with the naming, don't they?
I tell you, Sawyer, engineers are not good
there is a look
at coming
inside
up with
Mission
names.
Control in Hawthorne.
Yep.
EJ, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, no, it went through on vMix. Sorry, I was muting because my shop was making funny noises. I was going to say engineers are not very good at coming up with creative names. So, square hole's the square hole, right? Like Dragon to ground, ISS to ground. They're not good. Engineers are not working with customers.
Yeah, I mean, it gets the job done. What does it do? It communicates from Dragon to ground. What do we call it? Dragon to ground. Done. They tracking data relay satellites. What do? They track and they relay data. Boom.
Yep.
TDRS.
And it's a satellite. Yep.
And it's a system. Because technically it's TDRS is right? The tracking data relay satellite system.
I think that's technically the name, Sawyer, but I don't think anybody calls it that.
I mean, when we go through Shuttle Sundays, and you see the old official naming is TDRS. But yeah. Also, sorry for anyone who hates the S sound. Like, I kind of hate that too. So apologies for all the extra de-essing I get. I don't know what to call it. Let's see here. So now that they are backing away from the station, if anything goes wrong at this point, they just come back to Earth. They don't go back to the ISS, right?
Absolutely. They're at the point where they are prepped for leaving the station. They have left the station. It would not make any sort of sense for them to go back to the station. They've done all their sorts of checks, and so they are going to splash down.
Exactly. I mean, they always have crews ready on standby. You saw the tweet that we saw earlier with Shannon already kind of in position, hanging out for the next 12 hours. The team's ready to go. They've been doing their practice runs, getting ready, staying fresh on capsule recovery. One question I saw a bunch of people asking, and EJ, I don't know if you know the answer to this one. Why was this such a shorter stay, whereas Crew-11 is expected to go a little longer than 6 months, and this one was only about 4.5-ish months?
That's a really good question. I mean, it really comes down to the ISS logistics. There's constant spacecraft coming to and from, like what I was talking about before. There's constantly things going up, going down. So some missions might end up being a little bit shorter. Some missions might end up being a little bit longer. They do have leeway in the ISS logistics. But that sometimes that means some shorter missions and some longer missions. You also, Sawyer, you were talking about swapping out Dragons before. You're talking about different Dragon spacecrafts. What spacecraft do you have available? How long do you have that spacecraft available before the next mission? What spacecraft are going to be there while that spacecraft is there? How many docking ports do you have? Because remember, you only have 2 runways. There's 2 approaches for docking spacecraft. So it's all a logistical challenge. So the reason, if I'm understanding this right, like if you want to know the exact logistical reason, SpaceX 33 is going to be sent up there soon, and it's going to take this Dragon's place on the V-bar, or they'll take the Crew-11 Dragon, move it to the front of the port, and then they'll dock 33 to the R-bar. It's going to be one or the other. But the logistics are why some missions are a little bit longer than others. I mean, there is also some circumstances where, you're going to come up on a spacecraft and come down on another spacecraft that could reverb your logistical effects a little ways.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine. But yeah,
Yep.
CRS-33 is stupidly important to NASA because this is the one that will have the boost trunk in it, basically. So in the trunk, there will be some additional ways that they will use to boost the International Space Station. So they really wanted to get that vehicle up. And as you pointed out, The reason basically has to do with the visiting vehicles coming up, because you have CRS-33, which needed one of the ports. In addition, you will also then have Cygnus 23 coming up. 22, we don't talk about that one because it got damaged in transit. We also have the return of the HTV with HTV-X 2. All of this will be in the time frame that Crew-11 is docked. So it's one of those where they freed up the port and they're going to keep this crew a little bit longer so that they can all be there for all these arriving visiting vehicles. And then once the parade has gone away and it's calmed down, then they can launch the next crew mission to give Crew-11 a little bit of a break and return home.
Yep. Now, Alex gave me a clarification, Sawyer. So, and I thought about it, and yeah, it kind of makes sense. SpaceX 30 is docking on the V-bar port. It's going up front because it has to boost the ISS. That not a lot of people know that the resupply, the next SpaceX resupply Dragon is going to have, I don't call it a service module in the trunk. There's going to be an additional set of thrusters in the trunk, so that Dragon will, albeit uncrewed, will be able to do station boosting. Which is actually, that's a precursor to SpaceX's contract with NASA for the what's called USDV, the United States Deorbit Vehicle, which means it will eventually, like, this is kind of a test flight to test out some systems for the eventual deorbit vehicle. Well, don't worry though, that's not happening for a little while. We've still got plenty more years of ISS.
Yeah, thanks for rubbing it in, but. And yeah, recently the Roscosmos team, Sergei Krikalev said at a press conference that while there's official plan is to support the ISS through 2028, they are well aware of the fact that they are kind of needed to keep the space station running to have that Russian side going. So that doesn't mean that they're going to completely stop with the ISS in 2028. It could very likely be extended. Which, Sergey, cool dude, right, EJ? We met him.
Yeah, we did. We shook that dude's hand. Sorry, I was going to ask you how do we know that information? Was somebody in the press conference where we heard him say that?
No. Wait a minute, I'm just being told that was me.
Oh, breaking news. Kevin, roll it. All right, no, we're not doing that.
I mean, we did a whole breaking space video on it, too.
Oh, he did it! Yes! Yes! All right.
Nice. Breaking news on breaking space. I talked to people in press conferences. Also, Bandicam clips of it are available on the NSF socials. So another reason to follow the socials. You get to hear me talk to people important. Also really cool pictures and videos and throwbacks and things like that.
Sorry, I think we should tell them. The reason why it was a privilege shaking Sergei Krikalev's hand. The reason why, guys, is that guy is pretty much a spaceflight legend. He's definitely up there with some of the crazier things that people have done in space. I mean, amongst other things, Sergei Krikalev was the last citizen of the Soviet Union. He was on Mir when the Soviet Union collapsed, and he had to come back down and emigrate to the country that he launched from, which is very interesting. I think that's super cool. And then on top of that, Sergei Krikalev was one of the first Russians to fly on the space shuttle on the STS-88 mission. And he was on the first expedition to the space station with Bill Shepard from NASA. Guy has done a lot. He's a living legend right there. It was really kind of an honor to meet him. Sorry, you clearly got to shake his hand again, right? Right? That happened,
yes,
right?
Of course I shook it again, yes. Yeah. But you and I met him in Boston, actually, of all places.
That's right.
So, the second time I got to meet him, just outside Launch Complex 39A. Soon to be home to a lot of Starship launches, as we've got some more environmental paperwork that revealed a lot about the plans for Starship from 39A. Dee, do you want to help summarize that for us?
Absolutely. So what we've seen from the FAA and SpaceX is a new draft environmental assessment, which sort of goes into detail on SpaceX's plan for launching Starship out of 39A. Now, this is pending, stuff could change, but this is what they are working on they are working towards. So we, of course, previously saw this for Slick 37. That was exciting. They had a bunch of launches that for Starship that are planned to happen from Slick 37. From 39A, there are less launches that are going to happen. They're only looking currently at about 44 launches per year and up to 88 landings per year. So that would be the reason the landings are double is because they're planning on, of course, catching the booster and the ship. And so that's why we're getting double as many landings as launches. Now, one of the really wild things about this is the path of reentry. It would be a sight to behold for an extremely large portion of Florida. It would pass over a few major cities. It'd pass over the Tampa area. It'd pass over the Orlando area. It'd pass over the Titusville and Space Coast area. So, of course, those are sort of that's the range of the launches. And here, that's sort of the path. So this is the range for the launches. So they're avoiding sort of the Bahamas area. They're not going to be passing over any sort of land anywhere early in their launch. And one of the other interesting things, again, is like the Slick 37, I believe they do mention the possibility of drone ship type landings in this document. But here is where we see the path for those landings. So the trajectory for landing is quite steep towards the end, but it's passing over the majority of the state. Starship will be doing its typical re-entry that we're used to, and you can also see there, of course, the re-entry profile for the super heavy booster. So this is a draft assessment. There are going to be a comment period that will happen ahead of stuff becoming official. But one of the other things that we've seen as a result of this is sort of a map. And so taking a look at some satellite imagery, we can see a lot of the work that has been happening. So you can see the tower. The towers existed there for a while, but stuff from the flame trench, they're building air separation. I believe they're building air separation units. I don't.
Yep.
And so they've got everything from the vaporization farm, methane farm. They are also planning an area for megapacks. So sort of like the Tesla battery installation. So almost half of 39A is dedicated to the launch-related infrastructure, and then there's even another piece on the other side where they'll have the air separation unit. Also, is a separate launch and landing zone with a separate catch tower at 39A. So,
catch tower! Catch tower D!
Yes! A
Say it
catch
with
tower.
Me. Catch tower! Yes!
So this has sort of provided detail on SpaceX's goals with the build out that we've been seeing happening for quite a long time. We've wanted Starship to come to the Cape. We saw in the very early days, there was sort of the race for building the first Starship, what are really basically mock-ups, between Boca Chica and here. But now things are really winding up. So there's sort of within the whole map, and which part of the document is that? That's the wildlife area covered there and the difference between the Space Force Station. But there's a lot. I forget how many pages this is.
410 pages plus 25 appendices.
Of course, 25 appendices. So there's a lot that we've gotten new information for. Here is the zone. It covers a couple different launch pads for the restricted area during launches, landing, and testing operations. So you can see that covers 41, that covers 49B, that also covers parts of Playa Linda Beach. So we like Playa Linda Beach. We talk about it all the time as a great viewing location. Not necessarily for Starship, but we'll see. Maybe there will be a way that they'll have the northern section of the piers open, but there's a good section of Playa Linda blocked off. Importantly, however, the press site is outside of that area. So the press site should be okay. It's right there by the VAB, just on the edge of that yellow. And yeah. So
safe.
You've been spending time with this document too. What?
Yeah.
There's so much in here. What else do you think we should touch on and are important to point out?
Yes. So the other big thing is the amount of flights that we're expecting. So originally, back in 2019, they were planning for 24 flights. This one now we're looking at 44. And keep in mind, those will then include catches. So that would be 44 launches and the potential for 88 catches. That's 44 boosters and 44 ships, which is mind-boggling. The other thing is that 20% of those could be night launches. So that is, oh God, my math is bad on that again, but that is a lot more night launches than the 5 that they originally expected per year. So there's that. And then the big thing is that for the beginning part of things, they are going to have to be trucking everything in propellant-wise until they start doing their own. So I believe in the video that we did the math on it, and 50% night launches this time. But we did the math on it, and that's about 440 trucks of different propellants and other oxidizers and things like that needed per launch. 440 of them. And that's not counting the insane amounts of water that they are going to need. So, I mean, yes, they have the retention pond there now, and you could see a little bit of the video that we did covering the main points on it. But, I mean, the retention ponds that they're going to need, the amount of water, and how little of it is actually going to get reused because it just gets totally vaporized between the launch, between the catch towers. And again, the fact that you have that landing zone that they're going to be building, which now has the catch tower on it. And this is all separate from the massive tanks farms that they're already building there. As pointed out, the air separation unit, you've got the methane purification that they're going to be doing. I mean, this right here, just the different facilities and the amount of area. So new, you've got the air separation unit, the liquefaction plant, the catch tower, the deluge pond, the megapack batteries that Dee was talking about there with the power hub. And that's in addition to the methane farm, the vaporization farm, the liquid nitrogen farm, the liquid oxygen farm. I believe they also had plans to tap into some of the lines that are already there at KSC to be able to utilize, I believe, some of the nitrogen resources there as well. Yeah, also I've never heard it referred to as a water farm, but technically, yeah, they're going to have the water that it comes in, and of course this being the environmental assessment, there are concerns of, well, what doesn't get vaporized is basically going to become dirty water at that point because you've got all the things mixed in with it, and are, you know, where they're getting all the water from. It's a bit of a mess if we're being honest, but that's why these environmental assessments occur. And
so all of this just tells us that me and Chris B believe that shuttle's returning to the East Coast, right? That's what this document says?
I mean,
I can't wait for the sonic boom.
Yep.
From
I'm kind of with you.
That's the thing. Like, we get the return of Falcon 9 boosters, but okay, and we've seen some super heavy returns, but we're getting a Starship return over Orlando, over Tampa, over the Titusville area. It might not be the same. I'll be really interested in seeing the exact characteristics of that sonic boom, because while they're sort of just a loud bang, they're all unique. And whether it's the grid fins and the tips of the engines and the base of it making all these different sonic booms, they tend to be a series of sonic booms in rapid succession that are all unique.
And Dee, I don't know about you, when you were talking about the trajectory and we had that picture up with showing Starship's trajectory, it seems very much like Starship is going to fly like a brick, just like the shuttle. That seems like it gets to a certain point and it's just like, nope, down. All right. Shuttle did that too. Just saying.
Here's one of the concerns in it, though. Again, you saw that the map with the red and the yellow of areas that are kind of going to be off limits during launch. Sleek 41 is in there. That is United Launch Alliance. While they may not launch often, they're going to have to find time to be able to squeeze in there and actually launch when they're not doing Starship operations. Because when we're talking about these pads, we're not just talking about the launches. We're also now talking about the testing that's going to be done at 39A. And again, that's not counting 37. But when you factor in the testing, I mean, look at that. So you're going to have static fires, spin primes, things like that, which are in this test. You see it there, test, launch, landing, restriction area. If you're trying to get Vulcan ready for a launch, that's going to be a problem if Starship is doing its thing, because you're immediately in that keep out area there. Even the restrictions there for Slick 40 as well, same kind of deal. You're looking at pads that are now totally in the no-go area. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, KMR. One of the considerations, though, is the press site location. Were you pointing it? Yeah, it's closer to the VAB than the area we were talking about, but
it's directly across from the VAB.
Yeah, it's right there. But once we get closer to this rapid cadence, the necessity of the static fires and the spin primes will be probably greatly reduced. That's an upside of, okay, we see it with the Falcon 9 boosters. We used to always see static fires. Now seeing a static fire, okay, we get them for crew missions. Do we really see? We see like wet dress rehearsals, sure, but they're not the same. So once they actually get into a cadence and they're reflying these boosters and they're reflying starships, it's not like we're expecting two or three static fires for every single launch or anything like that. So it is definitely a huge downside that they have to block off such a large area. One upside, though, is they have the landing area right there for Starship and for the booster. So it's not like they're closing off areas like we were just talking during Crew 11 about the LZ-1. So currently they're launching from 39A, so they have to have the whole area around there closed off. And then they're landing LZ-1 for the RTLS missions, and so they have to have an area around there closed off as well. With this, those areas are sort of combined because they're able to have that catch tower right next to the integration tower and right next to the launch mount. Everything will be integrated, and I for one, that catch tower is right next to a road, which...
Yeah.
That's going to be... I know the sort of path we take as we're setting remote cameras. That's going to be wild.
I was just going to say, D, your remote setup's going to be pretty good, right?
If it survives. That's pretty close.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's going to be happening there. That's for sure. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle the amount of activity happening there. And again, in the early days, it's going to be nuts with 440 trucks coming in.
Yeah, it'll getting the plan for propellant. Like, they're launching so much that like it would be a shift nationwide if they were trucking in all the liquid oxygen and all the methane. Like that is a very sizable amount of methane, a very sizable amount of liquid oxygen, which is used in spaceflight and stuff, but it's also used in like liquid oxygen is used in medical applications and the like, and the US has a limited supply, so it's great that they're working towards expanding that supply by the launch site.
And you can see there, clearing the area 3 hours prior to launch landing, and is dropped after the event concludes. In the event of an S-word, cleared areas and roadblocks remain until propellant is offloaded, with the duration variable depending on the percentage propellant loaded, but the max time would be 1 hour. So if there's no propellant loaded, it said it would be dropped earlier. And static fire tests, same thing, no access, 3 hours each time, and most likely affect land management, mission-related activities at the surrounding areas. So that's interesting to note as well. And when we talk about the catch tower, by the way, it's worth noting they specified in this, it is a catch-only tower. That is not a launch tower. It's not like they can then convert it and launch it off to that. It's supposed to help with infrastructure as well, but that is specifically for catch and catch alone, whereas the other one is the actual launch tower.
Sawyer, D,
yes.
Are we at a... I mean, I know they throw this around. They call KSC a spaceport, right?
The world's premier spaceport.
Yeah, they call it world's premier spaceport, but I would call this a spaceport. Like, this is actually, like, lending credence to that name. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at, like, if you guys see me, like, looking off to the side, I'm looking at these PDFs and I'm like, This is like an airport with rockets. That's actual spaceport stuff. This is really cool. This is like something from Star Wars or something. This is great.
I should point out, though, I forgot an important word in it. It is the premier multi-user spaceport. So is that going to be a problem?
This doesn't say multi-user when you're launching how many times a year and you're shutting down for 5 hours a day for each launch. I don't know. I think that's what it said, something like that.
And just 39A. This is just 39A, not 37.
What about the other users?
Yeah, no, I don't think you don't need to worry about other users.
I think that's sort of part of the plan. It's like, well, we'll be launching all the time. Like, I guess we can make room occasionally when anyone else needs to launch, and that number sort of works towards. You have to also think about Falcon. Not that it'll, through all of Starship's flight, be flying, but it'll be flying through a long way into the start of Starship's, I'll say, operational missions. There's great reason to keep flying Falcon 9 until Starship has really, really proven itself out. So, I mean, they're totally covering their ability to do preps at both of their Falcon launch pads, of course 39A and 40, whenever they're doing any sort of testing with Starship. Or I might be wrong about the testing. It would be static fire specifically, or launch.
And you can't do anything over at 40 for their Falcon pad when stuff is going on. 41, ULA gets really messed over on this one with not being able to do any activity for those 5 hours at their own launch pad. I mean, there's ones like New Glenn, which are kind of more out of the way, but again, then it's finding time in the Eastern Range where they can then actually launch too. Because remember, it's the Eastern Range that gives them the clearance to get these launch times, so they got to try and squeeze everyone in too.
You have to wonder at what point in Starship's era, the Starship era, we had talked about eras a while
Not
back.
the Ares era.
It's a continuation of it, but we'll touch on that later. At what point in Starship's era will they start shrinking the size of that keep-out area? Once it's really proven itself, once it's flying regularly, will that shrink down? Will it be enough that 41 isn't impacted? I don't know. It's a pretty big rocket for that area to shrink very much.
Yeah, I think that's going to take some time. That's definitely going to take a while.
Oh, yeah.
Starship has to prove its matured design. That's what I was trying to say. That's going to be a little bit, but I just still can't believe, like, this is stuff I dreamed about as a kid. Like, I know I'm a little bit older than you guys. Like, this stuff I dreamed about. Yeah, I know, not by much. This is, when I was playing Lego Starship, Lego Starships when I was a kid, like 30 years ago, I was like, oh man, it'd be cool if we had stuff that just flew up into space all the time. Like, and it's finally happening. Pretty good. Pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
Also shuttle.
Yeah, now it's kind of a... also shuttle. Yeah, now it's kind of the other way around. There's too many launches as opposed to not enough, so trying to figure all that out. Let's take some questions here related to this. So here's one from Gina asking, does the catch tower catch both ship and booster? Will they each have their own there? I don't know. Did we see any specifications on that?
I'm not sure, Sawyer, to be honest with you. I mean,
trying to remember through 400 plus pages, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I don't know. If I was going to theory craft it, okay, and keep in mind EJ's wild theories, I haven't had a very good track record with this lately. I've been wrong about a lot of things, but that's
better
fine.
Than Ryan Weber. Hey. Sorry, Ryan.
Oh, he's catching strays. He ain't even here.
Sorry, Ryan.
Sawyer's just pop, 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 and it just lands on Ryan. No, I would say the catch tower is probably for a ship, right? The launch tower is probably for a booster. Because, I mean, do you really want... I would split them, right? You'd split the difference. Do you want the ship coming back when the booster is in relatively close proximity, right? I think the booster is just going to come back and be caught off the pad that it departed on, and the catch tower will catch the ship that it arrives from, right? Departure and arrival. Talking airports now, right? You know, your departure gate isn't your arrival gate. Two different things. But the booster, though, because I don't know. This is going to sound weird, guys. I mean, you guys feel free to argue in the chats because we like doing that. I would classify Super Heavy as basically, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but it's mobile ground servicing equipment. Starship is the key here, right? Like, Super Heavy just goes up and comes right back down. I would call it a part of the pad at this point. So I think it's going... I know, I understand it's not ground service equipment. It's right in the name. I get it, right? I'd say the ship's going to the pad, or the booster's going to the pad it left from, and the ship's going to the catch tower. Sawyer, what do you think?
I think that makes the most sense. One of the big things that they were talking about is just being able to save infrastructure. Again, the fact that you're going to have 88 catches, so that's 44 boosters, 44 ships for these flights from just 39A. It's tough because, again, I know they want to be able to do rapid turnaround, and part of the reason for doing this is so that there's less destruction. I could see them doing all the catches on just the catch tower. Give them time to take it off, then put the next ship on, and then it's less refurbishment on your launch. So I could see them doing pretty much all the catches on just that catch booster. I don't know.
I kind of I feel like the launch and integration tower will probably also be used for those booster catches. It makes sense. It's a taller tower, and like, why? They can just set it right down. They can get ready to launch again, or if they have another catch coming in, like, I think the catch tower makes sense to focus it on the ship. I could be wrong, but the other thing is, I'd love if we have a chance to look at the orientation shown in that dock again. Like, if perhaps the orientation of the two towers could be different to be more optimal for a booster catch returning from the east versus a ship catch returning from the west.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point, D. Yeah, that's a good point.
We saw Pad B at Starbase. It's sort of turned. It's sort of facing more south now. That is a kind of weird orientation for a booster return, but they can drive it into that orientation. But about the ship, how much would they control it and move it back? I'm not certain. I'm just curious how exactly that would all come together. Huh.
Yeah. Here's the layout, again, from the document. So for the person who was asking, wait, did they say that it's a catch tower? Yes, right there. It says landing zone, catch tower. So you've got the launch mount and all of that over there. And then the landing zone and catch tower. Hi, Jakey. Jake, what do you think? Do you think they're going to make it? He's not sure. He just wants treats. So, per Alex, it's the same orientation if that red square is to be believed. But we'll have to see. Watch out, Cheek. Another interesting question related to the catch tower is, would a catch-only tower have a water deluge system? And based on the numbers and from what I recall reading, I think the answer is yes, just not as much water as the launch tower, if I'm remembering that rightly. I don't know if either of you can remember that part of the document.
I have another EJ Wild theory about that.
Uh-oh.
I know. I got another one. I'm going to stand up for this one. So,
you know it's serious.
I'm going to play this off of you guys. You guys tell me. You don't like it, you send it right back. All right? So I think at the bottom of the catch tower, there is going to be a deluge system of some sort, because I think underneath the catch towers is where you're going to see some star stool action in the future. That's right. I think the test stands are going to be at the bottom of the catch towers. Right? Right?
Ooh.
We don't see any testing paraphernalia in any of the CIS for something like Massey's, do we? So where are the test stands going to go? That's right. They're going to go at the tower hole, which is square, right? That's my hot take. D, what do you think? What do you think about that?
I could see that being the case. Like they want to be able to move Starship very quickly. I apologize. There's a lot of lightning outside right now.
Nice.
They want to have that quick cadence, so they sort of had that area also marked as a landing zone. Could it be a testing zone also? I think the deluge makes sense in general, though, just to protect infrastructure. Like, doesn't have to be anywhere near as much, but if you're catching, if say it is ships, then they could catch those at the top of the tower and have a lot more distance. It would be a lot less direct impact from the plume of the Raptor engines into any of the infrastructure. I will say there is still a fence around 39A. It is really close to the fence. And I think if that fence were not removed, that fence would be removed if they did any testing at that landing zone.
Well, I mean, all we got to do is put a gate and make sure the gate's open so the ship can reverse space Y itself into position. Am I wrong?
There is a gate near there.
Is there?
Can you
Yes,
imagine if they sort of drove Starship through the gate into the chopsticks?
Please.
I don't think it's big enough. I don't think it lines up perfectly. It'd be funny. It's funny to think about.
That'd be awesome.
I think you're talking about the gate right by where we set up remote cameras along the road there, right? Which gate, or the one right by the first curve, by the tents there?
Yes.
It's hard for people to visualize, but basically as soon as you go around the outside of the road there, right around this kind of a little curve there, there's obviously the big fence which is meant to keep alligators out, but there is one spot that is actually an openable fence.
See, now I'm looking back through the document to see any other hints that would maybe allow it. Like, I'm trying to find just that layout, because
that would be kind of cool. Just roll it into the chop, because you have the HIF that's kind of in the way the other direction with the horizontal integration facility, the big giant SpaceX building blocking where the old crawler transporter used to go.
I will say there is a fair amount of distance between the evaporation and retention ponds and anything on the catch tower. So, for all we know, maybe the static fire of Ship 37 with the modified transport stand, maybe that is sort of a preemptive, hey, maybe this will work for mounting ships onto an OLM. And of course, everything's changing with the newer versions of ships and boosters, and we'll see the way it all works out. But there is quite a bit of distance, so maybe they're using such a significant amount less water that having those retention ponds isn't necessary. And if they're just running some sort of deluge or water sprinkler system at the moment of landing, perhaps. But I mean, we still have a lot of questions.
Yep. But it's fun to theory craft about it, right? And then, then, you know, whichever one of us gets it right, we can be like, yeah, we're awesome. You know, like later, which is usually not me, but that's fine. Whatever. Usually Alex, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it usually is Alex. Yeah, that'll be interesting. Let me really quickly also thank Uwe for becoming a PadRat member earlier during the docking. I apologize, I forgot to acknowledge that. Thank you very much for becoming a member. We really appreciate that. Now, here's an interesting question. Death Ruddle's asking, what are the Tesla mega packs for? Are they expecting peak power draw to be above what the local grid can provide?
Ooh, that's a really, really good question. Now, okay, so you guys might not think, but rockets require heavy industrial power usually. There's a lot, I mean, okay, at the very least, there's a lot of lights on the pad. At the very most, you know, you have a whole launch vehicle that you kind of got to make sure the batteries are charged and launched. My guess is for those battery banks, it's going to serve as basically an electrical buffer. So you can basically fast charge the batteries on Starship like you'd fast charge a Tesla. Same idea. That's you know, a rapid discharge of batteries will help you with rapid reuse, right? So in the same way you'd have a fluid buffer, right, in a hydraulic system, you'll have an electrical buffer in your electrical systems. You can discharge real quick into a Starship and recharge it, or a booster, recharge it very, very quickly for rapid turnaround. That's my guess. D, what do you think?
Also, in general, like all of KSC, all of the Space Force Station have their power system and have like backup solutions and everything, but it takes a hot minute for those generators or anything to pick up. And I've certainly been at the press site when there is no power at the press site, and so press site arguably slightly less important power-wise than Launchpad, but even if they don't need to exceed the amount, we have hurricanes, we have severe weather. They could certainly have a loss of power, and I don't know how things like air separation units and methane farms and the like handle a sudden loss of power, and so having a like you said, a buffer makes plenty of sense. Yep. Yeah. I mean,
hey Sawyer, I think could you check your mic, buddy?
So I don't
Sorry about that. There we go. Now everyone will be able to hear me. So you've got, what do you need all that power for? I mean, you've got the air separation unit, the methane liquefier, you've got the operations of the chopsticks, I guess. Where do you need all that extra power?
I think we're thinking about it wrong. The air separation unit will be very power intensive. That's going to take a lot of power. Methane farm, keeping everything cooled. I think it's also not necessarily like they are constantly using the full amount. It makes sense to have it as, like I said, that backup. They can run stuff if power goes out during a hurricane. They can run stuff regardless of the situation with the grid or KSC wider. They can keep their air separation unit, because imagine having to delay a launch because, sorry, the air separation unit turned off for a bit because we had a lightning strike. Like,
yeah,
sure.
That would immediately get very expensive.
I also wonder if it's really just backup power. Like, not
That's
even
what I think it is.
You know, like if the grid goes down, you can't just, like, all these new plants, all this new infrastructure, you can't just turn it off. Like, you have to have some sort of backup to properly shut down these essential factories of propellant.
Just don't turn it off. I agree.
That would be bad. Like, you know, how do you close the valves that you know that are would hold the propellant back from going wherever. I don't know. I'm just thinking, I'm brainstorming.
No, that's a good idea.
I think D once again, I agree. I think you're on the right track there. I mean, Starship is a 24/7, 365 operation. We know from Starbase Live, guys. Who else has that on in the background all day? I'm very guilty of that. Sometimes I have it on when I'm streaming, and Raptor Side chat pops up in the background, and I don't notice. I'm like, how is Chris B in my stream? Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Right?
You mentioned Starbase Live. Things are picking up here with Space Coast Live. We are seeing constant trains working out at the pad. We're seeing new infrastructure, new condensation units and plumbing, everything. It's a nonstop flow of trucks, basically, to 39A. Like
that's exactly what I was getting at, D. Yep.
Like it's picking up, and we've seen. I hear an Alex?
Hey, run.
I was thinking. I was hearing things about air separation units. I just, your talk reminded me of a thing that occurred a few years ago. I don't know if you guys remember, from SLS, nonetheless. And the whole, that was a pun, by the way. And the thing is, if you remember, it was, I think, between some of the testing that they did, I think it was not even during the launch campaign, but actually during the testing, where, Air Liquide is one of the providers of nitrogen at the Cape and KC. So one of the things that happened was that, for example, Falcon 9 could not launch that often because it also gets nitrogen from them, but it also had to supply for SLS. And SLS has huge tanks that they need to purge, and also a huge tank farm that they need to supply with nitrogen. And so there was this whole thing where it just so happened that Air Liquide was undergoing upgrades to their air separation unit at the Cape. They have a plant there on site. So, at the Cape, they are used to that sort of stuff. And so they were upgrading that plant, and so it couldn't keep up with Falcon 9's cadence. This is 2022, by the way. It's not even current cadence. So it couldn't keep up with Falcon 9's cadence. It couldn't keep up with the fact that SLS was being tested. And so your whole discussion about this, and it was just it was still running, but there were a few parts of it that were being upgraded. And so it couldn't keep up, and I remember SpaceX had to contract out trucks with nitrogen instead of getting the pipeline nitrogen and things like that. So these kind of things, they had to already, I guess, go through all of those pains, even with Falcon 9 and the local supplier. Part of the documentation also talks about getting local supplies from, about the natural gas, the water, and things like that. But I guess at some point, they're also going to have some kind of independent supply of things in general. I don't know. You can keep discussing or anything. I just butted in here because it reminded me of that.
No, it's fine. Like we were talking about with the fact that they can tap into, I believe it's the nitrogen line that's shared across the Kennedy Space Center area. And in terms of water, you were talking about there, even having to get from external sources, they are expected, per this document, to use 50 million gallons of water per year. That is 190 million liters of water per year. 137,000 gallons a day. They expect 400,000 gallons per launch, 300,000 gallons per static fire, 68,000 gallons per landing. How do you get that much water?
This is great. I don't know. Maybe how long until we see a desalinization plant, huh?
I mean, so you said 63,000 gallons per landing.
68,000 gallons per landing.
So I guess that sort of confirms that yes, there will be a solid amount of deluge happening at that catch tower.
Oh, it won't be solid. It'll be liquid. Ah, man, I've been being around Sawyer too much.
Yes, you have. I mean, I guess they could truck it in, and those truckers, I think, would look really awesome wearing trucker hats, wouldn't they? Because trucker hats are pretty cool. If only they had NSF-related ones. Wait a minute. I'm being told by that we now have them in the shop at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. We now have trucker hats, everybody.
Oh.
Yes, EJ, I know what you'll be wearing.
Oh, yeah. I'm a fan of trucker caps, as you can tell. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yep. We'll have to make sure we get you some. You've got the NSF logo. You've got the NSF Live, because we are, if you look actually in the bottom, you'll see most of the time it's got NSF with our little live, with our 24/7 live cameras. Of course, we're talking about heavy vehicles. You can't ignore Falcon Heavy. I still love that design. I have that on 2 different colored t-shirts.
Who came up with that logo, Sawyer? That's fantastic.
Yeah. And then, of course, the classic Texas Tank Watchers, which I feel like fits the most perfect on a trucker cap. I mean, I love it. I love these designs.
Sawyer, are we going to need a Florida Tank Watchers cap soon? I mean, for what Dee was saying, Dee's down there. Said there's a lot of construction. Are we gonna, I mean, I'm just saying, maybe we should talk to Lindsay. Like,
that's a great idea. I love the NSF Live one personally. That's one of my favorites. Because it looks like, if you look in the bottom with our logo, and you see the red live for SCL, SBL, and MGL. So I like that. That is one of our new additions there at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. The shop team doing an amazing job releasing cool new stuff. Like we were talking about the splashdown, of course, we still have the Hawaiian shirts there too. So there you go. You can see with the Dragon capsule, with the splashdown, with the dolphins from Crew-10. Of course, we're talking about all the landings and everything. We've got landing ones too. I love it. Max was wearing his at the most recent launch. It really stands out. Yes,
I had that exact one.
Yours.
I had that exact bright pink shirt. It looks so good. I also used it to keep my camera cool. In addition to staying cool myself, I draped it over my camera so that the sun wasn't causing it to overheat, because it was a very warm day.
I think I may have a photo of that from when I was up on the hill above. But yes, it was keeping the cameras cool, and it looks cool. And don't forget, if you want to keep even cooler, we now have our more lightweight shirts too, which are the breathable ones. I've got one that I will be using next time I'm out at the Cape next week. So definitely make sure to check out the lighter weight shirts, especially now in the heat of the summer. It's a great time to pick one up and stay cool while looking cool. Shop.nasaspaceflight.com. God, I felt like that was one of the cheesiest lines I've ever made, but
I mean, you sounded professional as heck when you did it. I'm just saying, you're pretty good at what you do.
I love it and regret it at the same time.
Yeah, I'm getting one of those trucker caps. I'm not even kidding. Like, merch plug aside, I'm getting one of those things. I did not know that. I am the black sheep of NSF. I am like, wait, you guys are getting paid? Wait, what? You have trucker hats? Okay.
No, those
I need one of those.
Came out this week, so.
Oh, really? New. Okay. All right, so I'm not that far out of the loop. All right, cool.
No, they came out today.
Oh.
I think it was today.
Like yesterday or today, yeah.
I don't feel as bad now. All right, great.
But yeah, it's really cool. Also, Crafty Geek coming in here with the $5 tip, saying the Mega Pack also allows the site to island itself during peak demand times from the local grid, draw from the battery instead of the grid, or only draw a small percentage from the grid in case of grid stability issues. So partly, SpaceX is just being a good neighbor here.
Yeah,
big electrical buffer.
They can charge up overnight when other places aren't using as much electricity, like AC is not running as much, that sort of thing. Like, there are tons of ways. Anyone who has or has thought about getting solar has probably thought about the idea of getting a battery pack. And while they don't necessarily have the solar here, they've got the battery pack, and they can take care of all of those same advantages. Even things like work stoppages in the event of a power outage must get really expensive really quick. And SpaceX has a very tight relationship with Tesla. So while they're doing this huge overhaul, they're working on getting approval. It just makes sense to sort of get some battery backup in there.
You know what? You know what? You just reminded me of something. You're talking about solar, right? What does KSC have a lot of? They got a lot of solar.
So there is solar right outside of the gates. So if you're driving to the visitor complex, you sort of drive out the causeway, and you would be making a right turn to get towards the visitor complex, but over on the left, there's a big solar farm there.
Yep.
Huge.
And there's one south of KSCVC and the industrial site too. There you go. There's your offset right there. I mean, I was going to say, because I was thinking, like, why doesn't SpaceX and Tesla just put in a huge solar oh, wait, they already have those. So there you go. On top of offsetting the grid, the solar will just absolutely charge those things pretty much indefinitely. I don't know if you guys know, the sun shines a lot in Florida. D, can you confirm?
It certainly does. I will say it depends on what sort of agreement, because those, at least I believe the one north of the VC, like that's an FPL project versus some of the more private stuff. So it depends on how that
What's
agreement.
FPL?
Florida Power and Light.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's a utility company. I got you.
Yeah. So it's not like that is SpaceX's or KSC's. There is already solar there, but certainly it doesn't hurt to have the ability to level out the amount of draw and fight any peak draw.
Sorry to interrupt. Something is happening outside that I need to go check out what that is.
All right.
You okay? Man, I thought...
I don't know what that noise is, but I gotta go look.
Understood.
Okay. I thought chat was remarking because I burped. I tried to burp because we were talking. I'm like, okay. Nope. Guess not. Guess it wasn't me.
So I have a question. Good. Can I ask a question?
Sure, Kevin. What's up?
You're in charge here.
What? I mean, not really. You guys are. Like this is one pad. Elon has talked about like hundreds of launches a day or hundreds of launches a year. Where, like, how does that happen? When Starship, when Mars is happening, how does that happen?
Well,
do we need to like I don't know. Go ahead.
There's a perfectly good Slick 40 that's only used for some Falcon 9, which by that time will be an antique
That's one more pad
vehicle. Yeah, but you look back at 39A, they've got about half the pad left, and this is just for now. This is the proposed environmental assessment. They're not saying that, okay, 10 years from now, we are going to be launching 30 times a day. It doesn't make sense to ask for that now. That would create such a dramatic hassle. The noise considerations alone from that many landings would earn some comments. I think this is like the foreseeable future, and 70 it was what, 44 launches per year from here, plus all from 37. Like, they've got a long way to go till they ramp up to that cadence. Even once Falcon 9 started being reflown, it took several years until they are flying them 20, 30 times. So they can go back. They can propose a new environmental impact statement. We look at, I guess 2019 was the last one where, so it's been about 6 years since the last EIS, and I take a look at.
Oh,
is that now?
That's right now. That's live.
Everything you see now is happening now. Then you just missed it.
It's totally dark outside for me because I'm under a thunderstorm. But like,
I forgot. I'm sorry.
Next time.
Place is a prison.
So, in oh.
Thank you.
So in like 6 years from now, if they continue the same cadence of, okay, 6 years, a new environmental assessment, like who knows if they'll even reach those exact numbers before they're looking to expand. Like, we've got some time.
Yeah. I think they're going to expand. I mean, if you look at Robert, I mean, do you drive by it all the time? Roberts Road, I think, is tooling up to make an assembly line for launch pads. Like they have all the posts for all the segments, and it's very clear that they're going to be making more. I mean, I think in the same way that NASA during the Apollo program built 3 MLs at once, which is what they still should be doing. Sorry. I think that they'll definitely get to more, but it's a careful, considered approach, right? Build what you need to get the missions done that you have now, right? So build for HLS, build for, eventually moving to the Starlink 2 or 3 things that Starship has. I mean, I don't even know what the version is, right? But I think that's what's going down. Is Alex in the back channel that you can tell me what that fairing is? What mission is that for? Anyway.
Yeah, that's for Starlink 1020.
There you go.
From Slick 40, yeah.
I knew you'd know. Is that bad?
One of the fairing halves is serial number 200, and that's about it. I don't know any more about it.
So where was I going with that?
Launch pads, incremental launch pads that you need.
They're also risking, like, if they're proposing this impact statement, like, if they go out of the gate asking for the number that they 10, 20 years from now want to be launching, what's the likelihood they get approved? What's the likelihood that there's more blowback immediately? Yep. They can get going with this. They can prove the vehicle. And then when they do want to go for more, the thing looming on everyone's heads isn't the last 3 Starship flights and how did they go? It's okay, Starship's proven itself. It's been incredibly successful. And now they're capable of launching more and we know they can do it. Let's consider the environmental impact of that.
I'm not even worried about the environmental impact, to be honest. I mean, I am, because I love Earth. Like, we have to protect Earth. We live here, at least for now. I'm like, is there enough space at Kennedy Space Center? Or is there going to have to be another space center built? I mean, we're watching a fairing go down the road right now. That couldn't happen. Like, KSC is going to be shut down when there's multiple launches a day.
I think we need KSC-2, Electric Boogaloo.
Nice.
Yep.
One of the... Hi, sorry.
No, please, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things... So, by the way, we put out a video about all of this, summarizing it in 20 minutes or so. Yeah. And... one of the things that we do at the end is like, okay, we went through all the stuff that it says, but like, keep in mind, this is just 39A. SpaceX has plans for more launch pads within Space Launch Complex 37, and then there's also Starbase. Right now, based on all of the paperwork that is underway, right, or the one that is already completed, for example, for Starbase, they have 25 flights from there, 76 from Slick 37, and 44 from LC-39A. In total, that is 145 launches per year that they will be allowed to fly with Starship across all 3 sites. And that will be 5 launch pads with their own launch towers and launch mounts, 3 catch towers as well, 2 at Slick 37, 1 at 39A. So, like, even just the thought of the people that they need and the materials and all of these things, like, it's not just... Again, Kevin was talking, the environmental effects and the room to put all of this. But it's also the people, like the amount of folks that are going to be needed to be able to handle all of this. It's a huge rocket. It's not a small rocket. It's not like Falcon 9. Falcon 9 can launch 140 times a year. And it's a decent amount of people that work with it, but it's not as many as they are, for example, with Starship. Right now, at Starbase, there are like 3,000 people, and they launch a handful of times each year, right? Like, if you extrapolate that to 145 launches a year across multiple different locations, that's a lot of people.
You just made me realize something, Alex. I know we want to bring Sawyer back, but you just made me realize this is the whole reason why Elon wants people to have more babies.
Oh my gosh.
To launch more Starships.
Oh dear, I don't think that's the reason, but let's move on to another thing, which is...
How am I
Can we not talk
supposed
about
to respond to that?
There you go.
This
One
is what I'm
final
supposed to-
note. One final note as well. The aerospace industry, the aviation industry has hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people working on it. If you want spaceflight to be air-like, aviation-like, and all that, you also need a lot of people to be trained on spaceflight operations. And that's my last take. Let's move on.
I just want to point out two things. One, the main issue isn't so much the people, it's the fact that even if you build another one on the East Coast, it's still the Eastern Range. You still have to share the same range people. So even if KSC is shut down, it's still going to be the same range. Second, my town today just passed a quiet zone, meaning that the trains that go by no longer have to blow their horns. It also apparently is crane mating season. So that was 2 cranes that are apparently helping with Elon's repopulation. I wish I had a better answer as to why I ran out and what that weird noise was. But that is Florida's wildlife, no longer endangered.
What happened to the stream?
I literally wish I had a better reason than that.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
But anyway. Don't forget to check out the video that we put out on the main channel. It goes into even more detail on all the things that you may have missed on it. So, and a reminder, if you want news that is more on the rails, that we have twists coming up in about 15 minutes. So yeah, just worth noting that the real news is still coming up after this.
Hey, we're real news-ish.
And Drew Nar saying, launch the babies into space, spaceship optional. No, that's not how that works.
What?
How long until the first baby is born on a Starship?
I don't know.
Less than a decade. That's my guess.
I'm gonna say a couple decades out, but I like the optimism, D.
I know it's an optimistic guess, but I think it'll be close to the decade mark. Maybe.
I'm not even putting in a guess because the logistics, this is a nightmare.
Can we not? Man, I gotta go there.
How does it work? I mean, that's the truth. That's the honest to God truth.
Maybe NASA should do a study.
When 2 starships love each other very much.
Are we talking about refilling on orbit, right? That's what we're talking about? Are we talking about that, or?
On orbit fuel transfers, of course. Yes, not anything else, duh. Anyway.
All right. Okay.
This totally destroyed the segue that I had. I just have to point that out. I was trying to calm things down a bit here, and that totally ruined it.
You did that to ruin a segue. Wow.
No, I didn't ruin. No, that's the problem. You guys came in with all the baby talk.
Oh, good.
So, yeah. Unbelievable.
Oh dear.
Anyway.
All right. Shift gears.
It's hard to shift gears out of that, but I mean, we would be remiss today if we did not address some other news that happened in the spaceflight industry.
Serious time, guys.
Yeah, this is where we go back on the rails for the end of the show here. We lost an absolute legend today. Jim Lovell passed away. The announcement was officially made today. And he is so much more famous than people give him credit for. Of course, everyone thinks of him as the commander of Apollo 13, the one who said, Houston, we had a problem, even though it's actually Houston, we've had a problem here. He goes way back. He was part of the second ever class of astronauts that were selected. And that, I mean, talk about elite group. You got Neil Armstrong in that group. There's so many amazing astronauts in there. And he started in the Gemini program. A lot of people forget that. Both of his missions had so much to do with endurance and being able to prove that for these longer lunar missions, people can survive the entire time. You have Gemini 7. which involved the first ever in-orbit rendezvous with Gemini 6A. So you had 6 and 7 finally meeting in space for the first time. One of them spent only, I believe it was about 6 or 7 days. The other spent over 2 weeks. So you've got endurance on his side there. And then we get towards the end of the program with Gemini 12, which was so significant in the spaceflight program. That really proved the fact that we can do in-orbit EVA, spacewalks, easily, and that one of the easiest ways to do that is to train in a neutral buoyancy lab inside of a pool. Buzz Aldrin was the one who helped with that on that mission, but of course you had Jim Lovell in command of the spacecraft while Buzz was out doing his spacewalking. So major roles there. Then of course we get to Apollo 8, one of humanity's greatest achievements. People don't give Apollo 8 the credit that it deserves. That was the first time that humans left the Earth's immediate sphere of influence and circled around the moon. The first time that we saw the moon up close with human eyes. The first time that we saw the far side of the moon with human eyes. And the first time that we saw Earth rise above the moon with human eyes. Jim was aboard that mission too. And then of course there is Apollo 13, where he deserved to land on the moon if anyone did. But even if he couldn't land on the moon because of the issues they had, he stayed stoic and professional and helped bring that crew home along with the amazing team on the ground. He was an amazing advocate for space afterwards as well. A great person. I had the honor of meeting him once. He's so kind, so nice, gave all the time to everyone. He still would go up to all the other astronauts and chat with them and catch up with them like it was someone that, you know, you ran into at a bar at old times. That was me with him back in 2016 in Tucson, Arizona. Such a special man. Such an amazing accomplishment to human space flight that people don't realize beyond just Apollo 13. Jim, we're going to miss you.
Godspeed.
I don't know if EJ, you have anything else that you want to add in regards to Jim, because obviously you understand his legacy as well.
I don't think I can top what you just did, but you know, we don't have much moonwalkers left, guys. We don't have many people left that have been outside of low Earth orbit, that have been outside the Van Allen belts. There's only a couple left. I believe Charlie Duke, Jack Schmidt, and Dave Scott, I think, are the 3 that we have left. That's off the top of my head. Chat, feel free to chime in. You know, should we have more? Oh yeah, absolutely. But you know, it's always darkest before the dawn. We'll get more people out there very soon. It's gonna happen. So, well, this is not cool. I kind of wish Jim Lovell could have lived to see at least Artemis 2 fly. You know, we might be short on moonwalkers, but we will get more in the future. Very close, very near future.
I mean, I feel like Artemis 2, the closest comparison you can make is Apollo 8, right?
Yep. Yep. Buzz Aldrin's still alive too. That's right. Yes, that's right. Apollo 8. It would have been pretty cool for him to see his mission happen again, you know, so to speak.
Yeah, you got free return trajectory, no landing, just swinging by the moon, and swinging back.
Yep.
If you think of the Apollo 8 patch, that's literally the number 8 is their trajectory, and you know, Artemis 2 continuing the legacy of it.
And we got Fred Hayes too. Fred Hayes is still around. That's right. Good call, Chad. That's why I asked. I knew I wouldn't, being put on the spot, I knew I wouldn't remember them all off the top of my head, and that's on me. But also, that list is about to get a lot longer in the very near future. So that's good. That's good.
I hope so. Stuff. Yeah. Again, that's happen, really man. The shame is Jim not being able to see humans return to the moon. Basically, the new Apollo 8 to have Reed Weissman basically as the Jim Lovell of Artemis 2.
Mm-hmm.
Although with the shared bad buttery of Victor Glover also in there, the pilot. I mean, and then...
Sawyer, we appear to have lost your audio.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You two covered that incredibly well. I don't really have anything I can really add to do justice to further this.
We'll get there. D, I'm good as long as somebody from the Apollo program is around when we get back to the moon. I'll be happy. If we lose all of them before we get to the moon, we got some big problems. Right? Like, I'm not okay with that.
No. Hopefully you can hear me back now, by the way.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. I mean, like I was saying, you've got the amazing team from Artemis 2, along with what you've got now for Apollo 8, the comparison. And again, you know, to have Fred and Jim and the team from Apollo 13 as well. Such amazing mission, such amazing people. It's hard to lose them, and I really wish they could have been like the scene in Apollo 13 where it's Jim Lovell who is the captain of the ship greeting them as they come back. Imagine if he was there to greet them as Artemis 2 returned. Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Sorry, I was just telling D, we still got some left.
Yes.
You know, as long as we have some left, that's fine. You know, I really would like the torch to be proverbially handed off instead of dropped and then picked up later. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And it's worth noting, I mean, he was 97 years old, so he lived a great life and left an amazing legacy.
He waited as long as he could. You know?
Yeah. Exactly. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And Bideford coming in, saying great evening. Thank you all for reminiscing. We appreciate that as well. But yeah, Jim, we're going to miss you. On that note, I know it's not the happiest note to end things on here, but we had to acknowledge the amazing man that he was. So thank you for all that you did, Jim. And of course, I got to thank everyone who joined us here today. EJ, thanks for sticking around.
Hey, no problem. This was really fun. I had a good time. And once again, I know that being on here is a privilege. I know, forgive me for my messy shop being in the background. My studio is out of commission right now. And my shop computer is kind of struggling. That's why I'm kind of like patchy around. But I did have fun, and being on here is a privilege. And I just want to say thank everybody. I just want to say thank you to everybody that watched. I really appreciate it. I do stream on Twitch. Not right now. My computer actually caught on fire. I won't get into details, but yeah, it's fun being on here, Sawyer. It's fun being here with you, indeed. You know, when he's here and not having a root canal done or whatever.
Tooth pull, but
yeah. Oh, got to brush some teeth, man. Dang.
All the bacon. D-Wise, thank you for joining us all. It's awesome having you on today.
It's been a pleasure. An atypical show, but I'm very grateful that I've been able to hang out here with all of you this evening.
And of course, we also couldn't do this without our amazing members here, including our launch directors and flight engineers, the highest level of support that we have. We appreciate all of you joining as well. It's the support that allows us to do it. And also to Kevin and Michael Reed for pushing the buttons and pulling the levers today, and to Sen, our partner with cameras on the ISS, so able to bring us the view. There we go. There's our launch directors and flight engineers. We'll see some of you in the post-show. The rest of you we will see over at Twists. I am Sawyer Rosenstein, and I have been your host for this Flame Trench. Now it's time to cool down. Now Long March 5.
Now Long March 5.